I have been getting so many messages from you guys saying that please teach me how to be emotionally detached, how to just detach myself or be emotionally numb towards this person or towards this situation. It makes me wonder that why are we struggling with emotions so much these days? Why is it that this generation today is the most saddest generation? Because despite having all the resources that are available, if we compare to how things were earlier, right? For baby boomers or maybe for even generation Y, they barely had resources that are today available with this whole evolutionary situation that we have on hand. I think despite having everything with us right now, we are still the most saddest because we are unable to understand ourselves. And I think that's the crux of it. Hello everyone, I'm Ekta and welcome back to my channel. Today let's talk about the most fascinating. No, fascinating is not the word. I think the most important, imperative and the utmost topic of the era, I would say, that is how to become emotionally detached. First, let's understand that emotional detachment is not negative in nature. It's not something that you have to numb yourself, you have to shun away, you have to ignore your emotions, you have to suppress your emotions. No, if anything, it teaches you to utilize your emotions in a right way, channelize your emotions the right way, capitalize on right emotions the right way at right time. So why is detachment so important? Now let's suppose if you are someone who's so invested in someone or so invested in a situation that you cannot see any other way to it. For example, if you really like someone and you want to be with this person for the rest of your life, and if you attach that image and you get absolutely crazy about it, you're fanatic about this goal of wanting to be with this person, it can actually drive you crazy because you are so attached to that result. It actually compels you to make wrong decisions. It just utilizes your will in a wrong way. It doesn't let you exercise your will, your cognitive abilities in the right way, because somewhere you're so attached to the results that you cannot see anything else beyond that. And when you're emotionally invested into someone so much, actually it's your emotions that control you instead of you controlling your emotions. So when you get too attached to something, you let that be the driving force of your life, and it's not necessarily has to be in a right context or in a healthy context. And sometimes we can get attached to not only a person but also our past situations. It's like we keep ruminating over our past situations that, oh, things could have actually ended differently, things could have been this way, we could have done this, we could have done that, and you always get stuck to this what if situation. And you know what the funny part about detachment is? That we think about detachment only when there is a difference between our desire and reality. Let's suppose if you are attached to something or someone so much, but the reality is something else. That's when you think that, oh, you know what, let me just detach from this person because this person does not feel the same way as I do. कभी ऐसा सोचा है कि सपोज कि आपको आपका पसंदीदा इंसान मिल गया, तो क्या आप ये सोचोगे कि मुझे इससे डिटैच होना है? नहीं, because you're way too happy, because your reality, your desire are actually somewhere aligned. They're working hand in hand. It only happens when the reality and the desire to have things in a certain way are absolutely misaligned or mismatched. And I know one of the reasons why you are on this video right now is because you're so tired of investing in this person so much or in a situation so much that you want to get over it emotionally. When we invest so much emotionally, it just hurts us back, right? So you want to safeguard yourself. So as per psychology, there are many theories that also says that one of the reasons why we also look at emotional detachment is because it's more like a defense mechanism. In fact, psychodynamic theory in psychology also says that one of the reasons why we think of detachment is because we use it as a defense mechanism. We want to safeguard ourselves from pain, agony, hurt, and all of that turmoil that we will experience when our desires won't be met. So we use it as a defense mechanism. Also, there's another theory, cognitive behavioral theory, that says that we basically use detachment as a coping mechanism. It's basically like avoidance coping or cognitive distancing, because once you're so tired of experiencing that pain and agony, you use these cognitive strategies to distance yourself from these distressing emotions. So it's just a mean to protect yourself. So basically, emotional detachment is only seen as coping and defense mechanism, which is a very common response to any kind of a trauma. It's when you want to kind of distance yourself from fear, helplessness, any kind of a distress that's causing all the pain and hurt. Now we understand why emotional detachment is so important, but why do we need it? There's something that I came across a while ago. There was a video which showed that we are way too sensitive towards our loved ones, our family members. Whenever they do something or behave in a certain way that kind of triggers us, we become absolutely baffled by it. We get shattered by it. We feel as if there is nothing left in order to kind of hold us back or sustain us, right? Because we are so sensitive towards the person we are very much close to. And when we're so sensitive towards a specific person or specific set of people, we also become extremely emotionally volatile. When we talk about emotional volatility, we all go through the highs and lows. When our loved ones or our family or our friends, when they behave in a certain way, of course, like certain way which is aligned with us, we feel absolutely high. But when they are not aligned with us, we feel absolutely low. We are like down in dumps right now. And these emotional volatility can bring so much of pain and hurt that at one point, if you're too volatile, like the highs being too high and the lows being too low, you actually want to practice detachment, because somewhere your emotions are taking charge of you. In short, they're driving you nuts. But have you ever thought about it, that how and why do we let our emotions take so much of power, like autonomy over us? Why do we let our emotions basically have an agency over us, that we do not control our emotions? It's our emotions that control us. Which is why the first and foremost thing is to sit with your emotions. And I see a lot of people, whenever they experience certain set of emotions, first thing that they do is shun it away. They just ignore it. They avoid it. But that's not the way how you deal with any situation, with any emotion. The more you keep suppressing your emotions, one day it's definitely going to burst like a volcano. Which is why it's important that whenever a specific emotion or problem or any distress or a discomfort that arises, you have to address it right then and there, instead of just letting it pile up one by one. So whenever you experience a distressing emotion, sit with it. Ask yourself why you're experiencing this way. So the step one is to sit with your emotions and understand why are you experiencing this at first place. Sometimes we get attached to people or to situation because we're trying to cater to our own emotions through them. We're trying to fulfill our needs, the unmet needs via them. Maybe it's like, I don't love myself, but because this person makes me feel loved, I'm feeling complete in myself. And this is something which needs addressing. This needs attention. Because if you do not approve of yourself, you do not sit with yourself, if you do not work on your own needs and don't make yourself feel seen and heard, why would you expect someone else, and how dare do you expect someone else to make you feel in a certain way? So oftentimes we get attached to people or situation because somewhere we are letting them satiate our unmet needs. But instead of someone else satiating that for you, it's time for you to satiate it for yourself, which means you make yourself feel seen and heard. Make yourself feel acknowledged. Make yourself feel loved and cared for. You have to understand yourself well so that you don't have to constantly chase someone or be so attached to someone or attached to a situation that understands you well. So this is the first and foremost thing. Look, we all are social beings, and to certain level, to certain degree, we all look for validation. We all look for confirmation from others. We all look for that comfort from other people instead of giving ourselves that comfort. And it's absolutely okay if you chase that to a certain level, but not to an extent when you rate yourself at 0, but when someone else does that for you, you rate yourself at 10. I mean, the volatility has to be somewhere matched, right? So emotional detachment does not mean avoiding or suppressing your emotions. It simply means observing your emotions without judgment, without expectation, without the end goal. It's just observing what you are feeling. It's becoming aware of your emotions. It means knowing how much of an emotion to invest and how much to hold it back. This is an art, and this art also teaches you to become resilient in whatever you face. It's important, I think in today's time and age, we all need to become emotionally resilient, which also means, in short, to know when and where to invest your emotions, to know to basically tap on your strengths and focus more on your strengths rather than focusing on your weaknesses. Then comes our number 2, in order to become emotionally detached to something or someone, is to set certain boundaries. I know I've been speaking about boundaries so much, but people don't understand the whole concept of boundaries. Sometimes people think that setting boundaries means not speaking with someone or just being away from someone, or maybe completely zeroing it down your conversation or telling the person that I will not tolerate this. That's not how boundaries work. Boundaries simply means that you tell the person that what is allowed, what isn't allowed, and if they perform something or they act in a way which isn't aligned with you, you simply tell them that what are the repercussions that person has to follow. Because establishing boundaries are so important. Sometimes we break our own boundaries. It's like when someone mocks us or behaves in a certain way, we just literally laugh it off because somewhere we don't respect them. And when we don't respect our boundaries, it makes the other person feel that this is tolerated, which also means that they do get the power over you. They get an autonomy over you, and they get an agency over you to drive you in a way that they want you to be. So setting boundaries simply means that knowing your limits and making sure that people respect them. But before that, you have to learn to respect your own boundaries. So when you treat yourself in a certain way, your mind learns to set boundaries not just with yourself but with others as well. Because let's be honest, when we are emotionally involved with someone, like way too involved with someone or something, it leads us to emotional exhaustion. And only when we are emotionally exhausted, like we've literally exhausted all our possible resources to kind of be a giver all the time, that's when you think that, oh, enough is enough, it's time for me to detach to this person because my desire and my reality are two different things right now. I think I've been constantly giving, there's no return back. It's because of emotional exhaustion that reaches a specific level, your tolerance level, you decide that it's time for me to cut this up and completely detach to this situation or this person. But on a contrary, emotional detachment simply means regulating your emotions. It means knowing when to switch on and when to switch off. And even if it's switch on, knowing how much to give your emotions, how much emotionally detach yourself is to prioritize yourself. Sometimes we think that this person is so important to us that we literally, like our mind, our body, our whole space revolves around this person. 24/7, we keep thinking about this person or this situation. That's when we become so attached that there comes a point that you feel the need to detach yourself from that situation or from that person. And hence it's important to prioritize yourself as well. It's like you tell yourself that this person is important, but even I am an important person to my own self. You prioritize yourself, indulging into activities that makes you happy. You do things that kind of gives you a sense of belongingness, a sense of accomplishment, a sense of achievement, that gives you a sense of identity. Sometimes because of this emotional involvement, we let this person create an identity for us. But it's you who has to determine your identity. It's you who has to decide who you are and what you want to be. Which also means that you have to make sure that you meet your mental needs, your emotional needs as well. If you think someone else isn't giving you enough time, ask yourself, do you give yourself time? Do you take yourself out on a date? Do you do things that you're constantly expecting someone else to do that? You have to ensure that your glass is full so that someone else pouring love in you, attention in you, becomes like an extra dose of whatever you have with you, right? It should feel like the froth on the coffee. So when you prioritize yourself, you become more resilient and you're less likely to become overwhelmed by the emotions. You let emotions overpower you. You let emotions drive you and drive your actions completely, which also means in its all totality that you become less impulsive and you become more mindful as a person. So in a nutshell, in order to emotionally detach to someone or something, the first and foremost thing is to prioritize yourself, set boundaries, knowing when and where to regulate your emotions, when to invest your emotions, when to withdraw and withhold it. It's important to channelize your emotions well. So repeat after me that emotional detachment is not about turning a blind eye towards your emotions. It's not about ignoring, suppressing, shunning away your emotions. It's not about just pushing your or numbing your emotions, but it's about taking the driver's seat and literally taking charge of how much of an emotion should be invested in a specific people or a specific situation. That's that. And the last but not the least way to become emotionally detached to someone or something is by limiting exposure to certain triggers. Sometimes there are people, situations, circumstances, environment that triggers our emotions in a certain way. For example, maybe seeing your exes or pictures or stories on social media, maybe seeing that old text or pictures, they can trigger certain emotions in you, and in that case, it's better to go cold turkey. It's better to completely draw your boundary so that you are not triggered by certain emotions. So these strategies not just helps you in becoming emotionally resilient, but they also teach you to become emotionally detached when it's required. It teaches you about regulating your emotions in the most appropriate, effective way, and not by completely numbing them. So that's all for today. I hope this video was helpful to you. If you have landed here in order to learn detachment from situation or from people, and I completely feel how painful this must be right now for you, that you literally have to think and reach a conclusion of literally detaching emotionally from this person or situation. And I'm sure you must have been through a lot in order to come to that conclusion. So whatever it is, ensure that you follow these steps. And if you really like this video, please make sure to like, share and subscribe, and share it with someone who's actually going through this situation, and they should learn and must learn how to regulate their emotions. If you know someone who has been literally being overpowered or driven by their emotions, this video is for them. So make sure to tag them, send this video to them, and don't forget to share it in the comment section. What video do you want me to make next time? Until then, I'll see you guys very soon. Bye bye.